Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from the Hub here, of course, with Pastor Jim. How are you there, Pastor Jim?
Good morning. It's an okay day to start, you know.
Yeah. So it's
And
Mardi Gras, otherwise known
it is Mardi Gras.
in this part of the world as Fastnacht Day.
Yes. Did you get your Fosnots today yet?
Nope. Well, it was icy
There you go.
last night. It's icy this morning. I don't know what's going on. And the only place that I would probably get Fastnauts, and I'm just doing this shout out, is at Weiser's Market in Akron because they make the best of all those kinds of things. So super shout out to Weiser's. If there are 30 people standing in line still getting their Fastnauts, cheers to you all.
Yes, yes.
Around the rest of the country, it's Mardi Gras.
I know, and I forgot. We talked about this last week. I was going to get my beads out, and I forgot them.
Oh, yeah.
They're
And I was going to wear purple and gold. Didn't
I
happen.
wear blue and white instead.
Yeah, I'm wearing Argyle. Oh well. So happy this day to all of you. If it's something you like, congratulations. If it's something you know nothing about, you can learn about it. And yeah. So today we are talking about, well, we've got some stuff. So both of us were talking about the second impeachment trial, and we were talking, and I was thinking about how do you, as a politician, and we're not going down the like politician path, but I was thinking
Right,
about,
wrong path. Okay,
right,
yeah.
that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, so the 7 Republican senators who voted to convict have been getting a lot of grief. And then there have been other other GOP senators who should have voted to convict and then didn't. And so I was thinking about, well, what are your core values? When you have to look yourself in the mirror in the morning or whenever you do that, and you have to say, who am I and what do I believe in at the core of myself? What is that? And I was thinking, whether those people can look at themselves in the mirror or not is also another conversation. The root of it for me was, well, what is that core? What is that core? And then I was talking to Pastor Jim about it, and we thought, and we talked about, what is our core? What are our core values that make up our little nugget of essence that's inside of us? And then how does that sort of manifest in the community and all that kind of stuff? So that's what we were talking about. So we're using that sort of real life example to get to that core. Is that sort of a good way did I summarize that well? We talked about it a lot of different ways. So is that good?
Well, yeah, no, I think it's good.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that comes up with this, and this is really a good example, is that I think each of us have some of our own core values that make us who we are.
Yeah.
And there are groups of people in whatever group that you're with, that there are also core values of that group.
Right.
And
yeah.
and you've got to find that balance of how they might all work together.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's what becomes a challenge for us, because there's an idea that a particular group think of core values is one way, but there may be people within that group whose core values are not exactly alike. They may be very similar.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a little bit of nuances or whatever, because each one of us have different experiences of life. Each one of us have different experiences of learning. So we set up our core values very differently. I mean, you could take a group of people, any group of people that are associated with any kind of organization that you're in, and as a group, you might say your core values are A, B, C, and D, but the individuals there, core values might be A, C, F, and G, or whatever.
Right.
but they can still mix together, because I think that's one of the other things too, with to be able to have core values, but also not um, dig your feet in that they're the only values that matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was thinking about like, what are mine? Like we were talking about, like, we actually talked about this last week. And we were both sort of having like being thoughtful about it. And mine just popped right into my head. I knew this is my essence. And and I it was a weird moment because I thought, am I supposed to think about this more? You know, I like second guessed myself. Am I supposed to think about this? So I'll just say it. So my core values are absolutely a little round ball of fairness, justice, and equitability that sort of all goes together for me. And then surrounding that with compassion. So at my root, it's about fairness and justice. And I think that, I mean, my mother, who's watches, would probably be like, mm-hmm. Because like I can see her going, when Kelly was little, I like, that's not fair was always a thing that I said. And it wasn't necessarily about like against myself, because I think that because Pastor Jim and I also talked about this, like when you're talking about your core values, is it about you or is it about other people? And the answer doesn't necessarily have to be or, it could be and. But as we were talking about this, my fairness and justice really isn't about me. I don't think, and I'm like second guessing my thinking. Mine is about other people. If you have 2 pieces of candy and she has 3 pieces of candy, why are they not having the same amount of candy? That's not fair. That's not equitable. Why are we doing that? As a little
One person
kid, that
had
was my issue.
one person had access to 2, one person had access to 3.
Yeah, and for me, that's not equitable, and so no.
But I think you bring up an interesting point. Are the core values about me or are they about others? I do think it's both.
Yeah,
I do think it's both.
yeah, yeah,
But I think before we can, though, express our core values in the company of another person,
yeah,
we need to know what is inside me, what makes me me,
yeah,
what makes you you. And those are your core values. And sometimes our core values are so ingrained to us that it's hard to express them for somebody else, because we just
yeah,
do it without thinking.
yeah,
We just do it without thinking, because they have been so ingrained. We've been taught in so many different ways that they just become the essence of each one of us.
yeah,
And then as we continue, as we mature and develop more fully as a human being, we discover that they become more evident in the way that we treat other people.
mm-hmm.
So one for me that I think I probably knew was already there, but I just never really realized it until, honestly, maybe a decade ago. One of my core values is that everyone has value. Everyone, everyone has value. And a lot of that stems from my own upbringing, where I thought that I had no value. People that are watching that know me when I was a little kid may have thought that, but but many people here today are probably looking at you and saying, "What?" But no, it's
Right,
it's
right,
it's been
right.
very, and I'm going to tell you that there are probably some folks from the congregation that I serve at Bergstrasse that are like, "Oh yeah, now I get why you say what you say and what you are," because for me, it's important that everybody knows that you have value.
Right.
I know I know people that have had a rough time in life.
Yep.
I know that.
Yep.
but that doesn't give me the right to disregard them as people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that comes out for me. And then because I'm generally not afraid to meet anybody
Yeah.
because, okay, I just want to hear your story. And that's part of the thing for me that's been a huge learning. I mean, but that's at the core that's one of my core values. Another one that's important for me is that what I have to say, I want to be able to back up with facts as well as, some life experience with it too. Not just life experience, because my life experience is not your life experience.
Right. And thank goodness,
But,
right? Thank goodness we all have different life experiences. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, and then the core values that I have, it's like, I may not, I don't feel that I intentionally try to make other people to be like me,
Mhm.
but I do hope that people see from the way that I treat them and treat others that they would like to at least be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. I think our core values shape us more than we think, because I don't know that we've ever really talked about them.
Well, right. And it's not like you wear a t-shirt or a pin that says it. And unless someone, like, I know that there are some of my friends who are watching who are like, yeah, justice and fairness, that, yeah. But I think
That's
that,
my Kelly.
right. But I think that there are absolutely people who were like, oh, you're right. I mean, just like what you said, but it's not like you don't wear that. I mean, I don't know. As I'm saying, you don't wear a t-shirt that says it, don't we? I mean, don't we sort of, I don't know. I mean, I guess that depends on who you are.
So I think the answer to that is yes, you do wear it, but not on a t-shirt.
You
You
wear it.
wear it in the way that you treat other people.
Yeah.
It's not a big broadcast like a big, billboard or whatever across our chest that says,
Yeah.
I believe in da 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 da.
Right.
No, it's how you and I interact with other people.
Right. I think
And
it's interesting. Go ahead.
especially people that are not like me.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Are not like.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I was just thinking
That's where
about
it speaks the loudest.
I was thinking about like where does it come from? And I think, I mean, we we're all on a life journey, man. We're all on a life journey. But I think that, there have been things in all of our lives that define, defining moments that things sprout because of those defining moments, good or bad, however that works out. And I just had a thing that popped into my head about why I think fairness and justice is one of my is part of my essence. And I was just like, oh, totally got that. I'll just share it because it's just in that moment. I remember being a kid. I was probably 7 or 8. And I was with my father and my stepmother, and we were at a Martin Luther King Day event. I think, and my dad will probably correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was at Cleveland State University. It was like an event thing. It was like in a big auditorium. And I don't remember like the speakers or anything, but I do remember it was during part of the event, we stood up and sang "We Shall Overcome." And I was on the end and my father was in the middle and my stepmother was on the other side of my father. So I had a stranger sitting next to me. And whoever was in charge of the event said, hold hands with your brothers and sisters next to you. And the person next to me, so, this is what I look like. This is who I am. The person sitting next to me was a Black man. And I remember I grabbed his hand and we sang together, "We Shall Overcome." And I thought to myself, as a little kid, this is how you change the world right here.
Mm.
This is how you change the world. And I think that that's where part of that nugget comes from. And I think I always sort of say it's got a candy coating of compassion, because you can't, that's just where my other essence part comes from. Who knew? And I think that, and it's interesting, because I remember when you told me about that yours is about acknowledging everybody, no matter who. I thought to myself, oh, that's a good one too. And then I went, hey, you don't just adopt somebody else's. You can't just go, oh, Jim has a really good core value, I should have that one too. That's not how it works.
Well, you can,
You can,
but you've got to work at
right.
You've got to work at it too.
Right. And that one
And
might not really be yours. You have to know what yours is. And it's neither good nor bad. It's just it's interesting to know it. It's interesting to know what your essence is.
and like I said early on, I mean, that core value for me has been something that has risen to the top of who I am probably in the last 10 to 15 years. And I'm not afraid to say that a lot of it just came from my own personal doubts of anxiety and depression.
Yep.
A feeling that I don't have value. And many people that know me probably say, you really? And I'm saying, yeah, that's the truth of my story.
Yeah.
That's the truth of my story.
Yeah.
And what I hope that I do through my work and in my engagement with other people is to help other people to see that, you do have value.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, everybody, my whole life, I've fought and worked and advocated for, that's what I do.
And in some ways, Kelly, yours, where you talk about fairness and equality, is also a part of mine.
Yeah.
As mine is a part of yours.
Absolutely.
It's only that they make up both of us, but there's one that rises to the top for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where, when you start to get groups of people together, you can see that where you have a group of 8, 10, 15 people, sometimes 100.
Right.
And the hope is the hope is that there would be enough there, that there are enough similarities in their individual core values, that as a collective group, they make a huge impact on the world. They make a positive impact on the world.
Right. And that you're not that you're not watering down the core value because there are more people. And that's that, and that's the, can be for big organizations or bigger companies or whatever. And you're right, that sort of, what is your mission? Your mission is supposed to be, for an organization or a company, that's supposed to be your core value. You're right, but then you don't want to, right. Oh, I'm so being thoughtful about that.
If I can just spin us a little off just slightly.
Sure.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but that's one of the things that we're working with in my congregation right now.
Yeah.
We're not saying it exactly in the words that we're using, what are the core values of our congregation, but
Right.
But when we look at church today is not the way church was when you and I were kids.
Yeah, it's different.
It's not the same church that I was at 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that, again, these small groups of people. And when I say, small is relative depending upon where you're at.
Right.
But yeah, what makes us important?
And I guess to tie it back to the beginning is that what are those senators and House members' core values? And are they true to themselves when they make decisions? And not just the decision that was made last weekend. Their job is to make decisions that affect all of our lives. So what are you being true to yourself, to your core values when you make those decisions? And I'm
And to
thinking,
think about those,
go ahead.
think about those senators and reps. I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of people that they're responsible to. Are they going to make everyone happy all the time? If they do, I'm voting a new person in, because we're not going to all think alike. We're not going to all be the same.
Right. But then once again, like we talked about before, we don't want to water down the core values so that that person represents nothing.
Right.
I think we've got some
So
things to
core,
think about.
so core values are at the core of who we are, the essence of who we are. And sometimes they get tugged and pushed and torn and sewn back together again. And that's life.
Yeah.
That's life. And I think that's one of the keys things for all of us, is that in both of our core values that you and I have talked about, neither one of them is just solely about me.
Yeah.
It's about we. It's about us. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could learn how to do that better? Wouldn't it be an amazing world if we could learn to better understand each other, and what does it mean to you to be who you are?
Yeah. And then to let that just exist and not have to fight about it.
No need to rip it apart. Honor it.
Yeah. So that's the journey.
It's the journey. It's the journey.
I hope our viewers are thinking about, well, what's mine? And how am I honoring that? How do I reflect that? I don't know. You can send little messages to us so that just we know you're taken care of. I get so like thoughtful about like people watching and going, shh, wow, I don't know what my core values are. It's all right.
That's why we do what we do, to help us to think differently.
Yeah.
To think about the things that are buried deep in our souls and to expose them a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the comments below.
Right. Stick in one of your core values.
Share your core value.
Yeah, fill it. Wouldn't it be hilarious? There's like 9,000 comments about justice, peace, love. Oh.
It can be one word. It doesn't have to be a big sentence.
Yeah. Awesome. Have a good week, everybody. Be good to one another. Bye.
Bye.